You're listening to a Peter Gabriel Full Moon Club podcast. This is the second Scratch My Back preview, linking to petergabriel.com.
Hi there, so this is the introduction to the Scratch My Back album. I began as a songwriter. Not true, actually. I began as a drummer, really, but songs became my passion, and the craft of songwriting was really what led me into music. And I've always wanted to do other people's songs. I've done the odd one from time to time, but never the dreaded sort of covers album. And I thought, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to try and do something a bit different with it. And the idea came that if I could get a song swap off the ground, then it would mean that there'd be a dialogue and some relationship with the other writer. So the principle is, if you do one of my songs, I'll do one of yours. And with some people, there's been no contact and no real discussion. And with many of the artists, there's been some dialogue about which song to do and how to do it. But the intention was always that people would do it in their own way. And for me, I've always benefited from having clear rules, because I think giving an artist total freedom is castrating them. When you say to an artist they can't do something, that's firing them up, because, you know, we're sort of mischievous creatures by nature, and we'll find an alternative route to achieve something, but we need an obstruction in a way. No drums, no guitars were sort of starting points on this. We looked at homemade instruments as an area to explore. There were a few different ideas, but in the end, when I started to hear different arrangers work, and then was introduced to John Metcalf, who'd done some work at the studio here and with Real World Records, I really liked his approach, which seemed to have some of the same things influencing him that influenced me. So, say on the classical side, because I wanted to try using orchestral instruments, there were some of the systems musicians. Steve Reich, who was my favorite, and Arvo Pärt, Stravinsky. These names were sort of, I think, big on his agenda, as they were for me. And obviously, these great writers. We had a long time researching through material, and one of our neighbors here, David Bates, has a fantastic record collection and was furiously recording iPods full of great songs. But I tended to return to some of the things that I loved and meant something special to me. But it was a catalyst and a good trigger for getting a lot of things going. It's been a very different process, because I haven't had that pressure and stress and responsibility of providing the defining version of a song, because other people have done that very well. So then you're interpreting a song. And in a way, with the well-known songs, say a song like Heroes, a lot of people carry that song in their head. So when you're starting to do something, it's almost as if you're working with the negative, or you can work with the negative, because people know what the positive version was. So you can do something quite different with it, and there will be references from what you're doing and references from what they already know of the song. Fifth track on the record is Listening Wind. Talking Heads were always one of my favorite bands, and strangely enough, when I was touring in America and they were just starting out, I had a friend, Richard Robinson, who'd recommended two bands that might be support bands, and one was called Television and the other was called Talking Heads, and they were both regulars at CBGB's, which is a small club, or was a small club in New York. And I listened to Television and really liked it, and so took them up. Had I think, gone to see Talking Heads at that time too, I think I probably would have liked that even more. Remain in Light was Talking Heads' classic album for me, and everything was firing on all cylinders, from the lyrics and the vocals to the grooves Chris and Tina were generating, and Brian's input as producer. And obviously, the Life in the Bush of Ghosts had been a great and influential record in terms of being one of the first to really utilize and open up sampling. But for me, they were a band that understood, the bottom end of the body, the grooves, as well as the brain and ideas and experiment and feeling. And in a way, it's also quite a dark sort of lyric. It's sort of about terrorism, and yet it's done in a magical way. The big dilemma for us was how if you apply the rule of no drums and no groove, and this was clearly a song that had been built around a wonderful groove, could this animal still manage to walk? And we weren't sure at first, and then that took a little while to evolve. John would go off, come back with some ideas, I'd give him feedback, and then he'd come back again. And then later on in the process, we had Bob Ezrin as well giving feedback. But this was one of those that sort of evolved, and again, I'm pleased with where it went. It's because it was sort of built on a groove. You have to make the journey interesting, because it's not got sort of huge harmonic movement in it, and I think that was achieved.
Buys his equipment in the marketplace. Mojib plans devices through the free trade zone. He feels the wind is lifting up his people. He calls the wind to guide him on his mission. He knows his friend the wind is always standing by. Mojib smells the wind that comes from far away. Mojib waits for news in a quiet place. He feels the presence of the wind beside him. He feels the power of the past behind him. He has the knowledge of the wind to guide him on. The wind in my heart, the wind in my heart, the dust in my head, the dust in my head, the wind in my heart, the wind in my heart, will drive them away, will drive them away.
Track number 6 is Power of the Heart, which is a Lou Reed song. I've known Lou for many years now, and Laurie Anderson, his missus now, and he's written many great songs, and is very correctly taken very seriously as a great lyricist in particular. At the Albert Hall, when he was doing his Berlin show, at the end he played this song, and it's sort of a marriage proposal to Laurie. And I just thought, what a beautiful song, what a beautiful lyric, and spent quite some time fiddling with it, and then sort of evolved this chorus figure, and I think it's going to be, in years to come, seen as one of the great romantic songs written. So although it's not an area people associate with Lou especially, I think he is a master of it, and it was a lot of fun trying to evolve and develop an arrangement on that, because it's like many great lyricists, it goes on longer than a normal music writer would allow, and so you have to try and find ways to keep that journey alive and interesting for people. I think it's going to be one of those songs that will get covered a lot in years to come, and it's great that we got a chance to play with it.
Everybody says love makes the world go round. I hear a bubble, I hear a sound of my heart beating, then I turn around, find you standing at the door. You know me, I like to dream a lot of this and that, and what is not. Finally I figured out what was what. It was the power of your heart. The power of your heart, all around the world, just to bring you back. It was the power of your heart, of your heart.